lot of hate against foreigner drivers.
Why
Because
is
you want me to use questions? They're just a truck driver, a dumb truck driver.
Hey, but you got to remember, I'm in the industry. You're not.
Welcome to the Truck Stop Show. Today we're joined by Bob, who has been trucking industry for many, many decades. Bob, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us about your journey in trucking, Bob.
Well, it started back in the 60s. I was a lumper before I knew what a lumper was, helping unload trucks for $8 a day in 1968. And my dad was in the industry, and most of my family was in the industry. My son's in the industry as a driver now, and yeah, it's just been a family tradition.
So it's actually good. I mean, I never had somebody whose son is involved in trucking too.
Yeah.
Because the impression I have, because it's such a tough job, when you do it yourself, I get the impression that you don't want your kids to do it. But I guess you don't have this opinion, right?
He told me at a younger age that he wanted to drive truck, and so he used to ride with me a fair bit. And then I got letting him get behind the wheel, hooking up a trailer and this and that when he was like 15, just to see if what he was looking for might be what this is. And kind of caught on to it kind of natural. He's been trucking for 20 years now.
Nice. So, Bob, tell us, what kind of hauling have you done? Because I know trucking is very diverse, right? One day you're hauling milk, and tomorrow you're hauling something else, right? So what kind of hauling have you done?
I started out in the business hauling livestock, pigs and horses and cattle. Did that for many years. Then I went into hauling hardware. Hauled for a hardware company for 15 years, and then I get into just regular freight. And actually got into the production business as far as driving a mobile production truck. And I did that for over 11 years, and then I went back to hauling freight for the last 4 or 5 years of my full-time trucking career. And I took 2003 off, moved about 8 trucks for a local truck dealership, and then went to Arizona for the winter, come home, and I've been trucking part-time ever since for 2 different companies.
So so I never had actually somebody on the show that has done something to do with production.
Mm-hmm.
So I know production involves a lot of trucking, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, so.
Well, when there's a hockey game, basketball game, football game on all across Canada, and if the Canadian teams are in the U.S., there's at least one television production truck on site broadcasting the game or any kind of event. And so you might go to L.A., and I've been to L.A. for hockey and for baseball. And yeah, you're kind of in the trucking industry and kind of in the TV industry, but you're not full-time in either one of them.
So basically you drive these production equipment trucks to, let's say, LA, right?
Yes.
And then you stay there for as long as you're needed, right?
Yeah, as long as and when the show is over, you pack up and head for the next one, wherever the next one is.
That's pretty cool, Bob.
It is.
So you've done some cool stuff.
Yeah,
Tell us about some of the experiences or some of the cool things you've done in trucking.
Well, I've met a few notable people like, Don Cherry and guys like that, and I've met a few of the hockey stars. And down in Nashville, I didn't really meet Carrie Underwood, but she was right there and said hi to me. I've done the Oscars, the Emmys, and the Grammys in L.A., covered that with a TV production truck. Done snowboarding in Vail, Colorado. European wrestling, or maybe it's international wrestling. Done that in L.A. I know I did a hockey game in Halifax, and my next show was in L.A.
So you drove from coast to coast.
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. And I've done hockey games in Newfoundland and St. John's, Newfoundland, and been up to Yellowknife for the Aboriginal Days up there in Yellowknife in June. They usually have I think their main show was in Winnipeg, and then they do whatever city they picked out to be a sister to the show. And that year it was Yellowknife, so we got to go up there to Yellowknife, and at the longest day of the year. So
So trucking isn't just hauling tomatoes and potatoes, right?
not in my. I mean, there's guys that been hauling the same thing all their life, but I don't mind the variety. I don't mind the variety. Like the last time I was in Winnipeg, just a couple weeks ago, I had production equipment on out there for the stage and lighting equipment for the halftime show of the Grey Cup. So it varies. I've hauled tomatoes, I've hauled potatoes, I've hauled turnips, livestock, freight.
So I gotta ask you this. So other than the production side, which sounds very cool and very interesting, what is your favorite pick within trucking? What kind of hauling you prefer?
Well, I guess I get a little soft just hauling freight. Just swing the door shut when you're loaded and open them when you get there and let somebody else do it.
What
I get-
about the livestock?
Oh, the livestock was cool. I didn't mind doing it, and I did a load a year ago.
I heard it's very tough. I mean, like you have to deal with animals and
Yeah, probably the hardest part of it would, because going down the road, it's just like hauling anything else. Yes, it's a little top heavy because you got livestock in the belly of the trailer and livestock on the top of the trailer, and it gets a little top heavy. But the trucks are their suspension is pretty good, but the loading and unloading of it, and then in some cases, when the driver gets back, he has to clean out the manure out of the truck and get ready for the next load. But when a lot of the livestock trucks, not all of them, there's quite a few of them run west, they haul freight to the Western Canada and haul livestock back. And they got to convert that trailer from a freight box to a livestock trailer. And the conversion is simple, but it's a lot of work. I mean, it goes together right, but there's a lot of work to put it together. And so that's one of the toughest parts of is converting your trailer, if it's a dry box, to a livestock trailer, and doing the clean out. A lot of guys nowadays, they don't have to do the clean out. Most of the companies, when they get home, drop the trailer. They have yard guys that do that, and the driver can go home and rest and be ready for the next adventure.
So, Bob, trucking is such a cool and adventurous trade. Why do so many people either not know about this, or if they know about trucking, they have a very negative approach to it?
That I'm not sure of, because it seems like the majority of the people I know, they got into the industry at a young age. A lot of guys come off the farm because they drove tractors and trucks around the farm, hauling grain wagons and everything. And they went from the farm side of it to the trucking, which was a natural. So they knew how to drive and shift gears before they got to the truck. But nowadays, the demand on the industry, everybody's looking for that good driver, because good drivers aren't cheap and cheap drivers aren't good.
Well said.
And the industry proves that every day. So it's a tough job. And nowadays, it seems like not a lot of people want to be away from home for the amount of time that the job demands if you're doing long haul.
So, Bob, you mentioned good driver. So now you're going to have to tell me, what is the definition of a good driver?
A good driver that's like I tell a lot of people, if they're getting into the industry and you want to become a good driver, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask the other guy. Yeah, you might think it's a stupid question, but if you don't know the answer to it, it's not a stupid question. Ask the question. You see a guy that's a senior driver, don't be afraid to ask him. He might say, oh, you don't know this or that. You say, yeah, you're right, I don't know it. I want you to tell me, to give me some ideas how to do it. And if you do that, most guys are pretty good. I tell a lot of young guys, I remember telling this to a guy fairly recently, make sure you put your mind in gear before you put the truck in gear. Because, and what I mean by that, you could be hauling liquid and you got slop hauling liquid, and you could be hauling livestock, top heavy to not. You get a load of freight that doesn't move. You can't feel it as much, but you get a top heavy load or a sloppy load. You got to know what you're hauling, and you got to know what truck you're driving, because I'm doing some part-time work for a couple of companies. I'm in all different kinds of trucks, and I'm in this one and that one and the automatic and the standard, and you just put your mind in gear, know what you're doing before you put that truck in gear, and that will help you get down the road, in my opinion.
Is it important to know how to shift gears now? Because a lot of the companies are only buying automatic trucks, and that is the future, right?
I think it is the future, and a lot of truck manufacturers, they don't even give you the option of a manual transmission. You might have to order it or maybe put it in later, But most of the new ones, like the big manufacturers, they are coming out standard with manual or automatic transmissions.
But do good drivers have to know how to shift gears? That's what my question is.
I don't think you have to, but I know a guy I used to work for. He said, once we get all automatic trucks, we're going to have a better class of drivers. And I thought, well, that's not the right thing to say, because there's a lot of us, like I started in the early 70s. I got my license at 16. I started driving, and I knew how to shift the transmission before I got a license. And now it seems like you don't have to know that, but you still have to know the truck. You still have to know what the truck's all about. Do your pre-trip, do your safety inspection of your truck and trailer and lights and brakes and the whole deal. But if you just get in the truck and start it up, put it in D and drive, yeah, you should know a little bit more than that. Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot of drivers out there that they don't go by that method. They just put it in gear and drive, and they don't maybe not do the proper safety.
But where are we getting this mindset from? I mean, it's so you talked about communication. Basically, you said a good driver is the one who's not afraid of asking questions, right? So yeah. The word that comes to my mind is communication. Basically, communicate. Communication was a huge thing in trucking, whether it be on the road through CB radios, at the truck stops, when drivers got together, they discussed their problems and issues and helped each other, right? Now this thing is gone in the past 10 years or so. It's not there anymore, right? You agree on this?
Yeah, CB radio. I have one. I've had a CB radio since 1971 or 2, and I have it on all the time. I like to communicate with other drivers, and there's a lot of people don't have them on, and a lot of trucks don't come with them anymore.
What about the truck stop culture? You lived through that, right?
Oh yeah.
So how did it look like, Bob? Well, first of all, because many new drivers probably don't even know this. So like you are coming from Quebec, and then there's this guy coming from LA, and there's this guy coming from up north. You all get together at one truck stop, and you guys know each other, right?
Well, yeah, and there was a round table. A lot of the truck stops, and this, I don't know when it started, because I only started in 71. But a lot of truck stops had a round table, and guys would just sit down and, hey, buddy, how you doing? Where are you from? Where are you going? And converse that way. And then you might leave there and go in the same way, and you get on the CB radio, and you might talk for 150 miles. And then, okay, well, I'm stopping for the night. Okay, catch you next time. The CB radio was our social media through the 70s and 80s and part of the 90s, but the last 20 years, it's just died right off.
And why? Why do you think it happened? Is it the technology? Is it the people's mindset changed?
Mindset changed, the technology. You have other ways of communicating. Back then, CB radio was a communication. And we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have GPS. We didn't have ELDs. So our communication was that. And now they got other things distracting them. I still go with that. And I was traveling with my camper for about a year, I guess. And I had a CB in a pickup truck, pulling my trailer. And I'd turn on the radio and I hear somebody mention something about the highway. And then the next time I'd stop, I look up on my phone for the traffic on the Google Maps, and traffic stopped up there. I'll get off here and go around. And I was going into Galveston, and I was going to go straight into Houston. Traffic's bad at Houston anytime, but there was a wreck on I-10 West. I get off and went down to the shore, went down to the Gulf of Mexico, and went into Galveston that way.
It's
No
not
traffic at all.
Gulf of Mexico anymore.
It is, in my opinion.
It's Gulf of America.
No, Gulf of Mexico to me.
Okay. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah.
I had to bring it in.
Yeah. No, some people, if they want to change it, fine. But when you grew up on it,
Yeah, sure.
and same with the CB radio, like I was on it all the time.
Yeah.
When I left hauling hardware, I was hauling hardware for a local company, and I was there for 15 years. And one of the guys said to me, "We're going to have to learn how to use our CB radio again." I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, we just listened. You did all the talking." So yeah, I was on it quite a bit, and
Right.
and a lot of times at night, just get on there and just tell stories, kept everybody awake. You know, it was a great social media, and with the CB radio, you had the microphone in your hand.
Hmm.
You didn't have to adjust anything. You had the mic in your hand. You could drive down the road and talk like this, and you're not taking your vision off the road.
Right.
And it kept drivers awake. But now, some companies don't want it from an insurance standpoint. Some provinces think it shouldn't be illegal because it's handheld. But yes, the accidents have increased, but so has the amount of equipment on the highway now. I mean, in 1970, you go through Northern Ontario, you wouldn't meet 100 trucks in a day maybe. And now you meet 100 trucks maybe in an hour. And then through the north, you got 2-lane highways, and through Northern Ontario, majority is 2-lane.
Bob, so just sort of I want to bring it towards what is happening now in trucking industry. Not everything is negative and not everything is positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that bothers you the most? What is happening now in modern trucking?
Modern trucking, well, I know in other shows you've talked about it. The new drivers to the industry, they get in there and they're not afraid of anything. They put it in gear. I was going under Dryden, and I had a truck go to pass me on a hill, and I kind of squeezed over and stopped him because I didn't want to get involved in his accident. And they just don't seem to have any fear, and they never have their CB radio on. And one of the problems is everybody's in a hurry because of the ELD, in my opinion. The ELD forces you to keep going no matter what to get your day in. And
But don't you think ELD is a positive thing in a way for those who like it does bother me, and I did mention this before, when people who ran multiple logbooks, and they actually seem to be proud of this, because no human is a superhuman, right?
oh no.
We all need to sleep.
Now the ELD is good when it's used properly,
Right.
but I got 16 hours to get as many miles in today as I can get.
Mhm.
And in the U.S., it's 14 hours.
Mhm.
And got to go. The mindset of the newer ones, you got to go to get your day in. And you think your dispatcher is going to be all over your case. Well, if you wreck because of bad weather, because your mindset is, I got to go, it's going to be a longer day than 16 hours.
Days, probably.
Yes.
Now, is it the companies that would you think is the problem here? Is it the training that's the problem here in new drivers?
Yeah, the training is a little laxy because they should have more than, what's the average? I think 25 or 30 hours behind the wheel. They should have more than that in training. And again, the language is a problem because most of the signs in Canada are English and French. In the U.S., more English. You get in some southern states, you see Spanish and Texas and Southern California, Arizona. But if you don't understand the language and can't read the language, there's a warning sign. You can't read it. You just, okay, it's an orange sign. What's that mean? I don't know. Usually construction, right? So the sign that can't be read is a hazard to the drivers that can't understand or read and write. Well, not so much.
Language is a huge topic right now, Bob.
Oh, is it
No,
ever?
no, it does relate back to immigration now, right? So all of these things go hand in hand. So, and then it relates back to where something is actually one of the drivers that said this to me. He said, newer generation, like for example, he was a truck driver himself. He said, my kids do not want to be a truck driver. When our kids do not want to become a truck driver, then we're going to have people coming from other countries and taking over this trade.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it has happened in the past 20 so years?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the a lot of the immigrants that coming into the country, and, you know, they're not all from India or Pakistan. They're from Poland and just all different kinds of countries on the in the East. Because the generation now of Canadians and Americans, like you said, they don't seem to want to get into the industry.
No, it's because, hence we have this show, Bob. Because a lot of people have a very extremely negative image about the trade. They think, you know, truck driver is a dirty person with unhealthy habits and, you know, like just a bad person in every way, you know, and then there's a whole bunch of factors involved with this. But I personally find it was a very good trade. It can give you a great life, but if you do it right.
Exactly, if you do it right. And there's a lot of drivers out there that they drive truck, and then there's truck drivers. And the difference is you care what you're doing. You're in it. And I do it because I enjoy meeting new people all the time. I enjoy that. You meet new people everywhere. I'm one of the ones that still like it after all these years. I still like driving. My wife thinks I'm crazy because she said, you've been there, done that. And I said, yes, but I haven't been everywhere. She said, well, maybe not yet, but damn near.
Okay, tell me how many provinces, how many states? Tell me.
Been to 48 states, been to 10 provinces and 1 territory, Northwest Territory.
So you're left with 2 states and 2 territories. And basically, that's it.
Yeah.
So 2 states and 2 territories.
Yeah, I got close to Alaska, but I didn't get to it. And I couldn't see Hawaii. Road's not open yet. But no, I've enjoyed it. I run the East. I run New York City, darn near steady for 10 years.
And everybody hates going there, right? Just
I didn't mind it at the time, and I've been back since. And yeah, I'm good. I've been there enough. I know the Manhattan well enough to get around, and the other borough. Didn't get to Staten Island very much, but Queens, Brooklyn's, and
without hitting any bridges.
Never hit a bridge.
There's a lot of low bridges
Touch
over
wood.
there.
Oh, well, New York City, there's a lot of low bridges, but the sign says they're low, not necessarily they're low. They just sign it. For what reason? Why don't they sign actual height? Not. I've told people that when a sign says 13 feet in New York State, to me it says could be, might be. What the hell? Give it a chance. And I had a driver call me, and he said, I'm looking at a 13-foot bridge. And he said, what do you think I should do? And I said, well, I think you should get out, go back to your trailer, dump the air out of the trailer, and come back and dump the air out of your tractor and pull up the bridge and see if it clears, you know, and do all this with your four-ways on. And if it clears, you're good. If not, you have to call somebody because you got to get turned around.
Yeah.
But he dumped his air and drove underneath it.
And he made it out?
And he made it, yeah. He said, damn, I wasn't even going to try it. And I said, well, you dump your suspension, you could gain clearance of 3.5 to 4 inches, depends on the suspension. And 3.5, 4 inches, that beats the heck out of a hitting bridge. And so, don't be afraid to do it.
So it refers to the fact what you said, you got to be able to read the signs.
Again, yes, you got to be able to read the signs.
Right.
Now, in Manhattan, I had an event where I was trying to make a corner, and I couldn't make it because there was cars parked right up to intersection. And a cop come along. He said, "What's the problem here?" And I said, "Well, that car's illegally parked and that van's illegally parked, but if they weren't there, I could get around the corner." He said, "Well, which one do you want to run over?" And I said, "I don't want to run over either one of them." He said, "Tell me, if they were not there, could you make the corner?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, run over one of them." I said, "No, thank you." I said, "There's paperwork goes with that, and I don't want it."
That's so American.
Yeah. So he said, "What do you want us to do?" And I said, "Well, you got them flashing lights. Could you maybe stop traffic and let me back up, and I'll find another way around?" And I did, but he told me I could run over either one of them
Yeah.
because they were illegally parked,
Yeah.
and they already had parking tickets.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it because
Yeah, of course. You don't want to go through that, right?
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, Bob, you married?
Yes,
How many years?
30 years this time, 20 years the first time.
So you've been married twice.
Yep.
So I don't know full story, but I mean, if you like talking about the first marriage not being successful, was that had anything to do with trucking?
Oh yeah, I was gone way too much and gone for long, and then you get home, say hi to the kids and wife, pack your bags and head out again. That's not good for. I mean, it was all my fault. It wasn't her fault. I just kind of. I guess the problem is I'm old school and the job's got to get done, and I had that mindset. Just they want you to go, and that's what I did, and that long term screwed up my first marriage. And
You couldn't do the work-life balance.
yeah, you could say that because if I knew how to balance it, I probably would have tried, but I didn't know how to balance it. I just go to work.
So
And-
trucking, you're not the only one, that's suffered in their personal life due to work, right? And trucking is that type of trade. You gotta be smart, or you gotta have some good sport, right?
Yeah.
So, two newer guys that are getting into this, or maybe some people are going through this right now. What kind of advice do you have for them?
Well, you got to be able to manage your home time, and don't be afraid to say, "Look, I can't go. My wife and my kids need a little bit of my time also." You got to be able to stand up for yourself, and it's not that I didn't stand up for myself. It's just that I felt the job had to be done.
It wasn't the economic pressure.
No, I just right. I mean, even now, my wife now, we have a great relationship. We've been together over 30 years, and the last 10 years, I've been home a lot more than I used to be, and it's made things better. And now I'm somewhat retired, and I get home, and I have a few companies that have called me to have me do some part-time for them, and I do it if I want, don't if I don't want, and they're okay with that. But they give me a call, but you got to be able to say, "Look, I got to have time at home with my kids," and I didn't have that mindset back then. So if you want to have a good family life, you have to either find the job that works for you and your family, or at least speak up to your dispatcher and or company owner and say, "Look, I need home time."
There's a slight difference between your time and now. When you were trucking, as you did say, it wasn't the economic pressure, right? So the money was there.
Yeah, the money.
Now
is-
the other problem trucking is facing right now is, even though you work hard all you want, sometimes I know people that still struggle to meet the needs.
yeah, and
So the point is, there's less money in there now. So people perhaps do this for economic pressure.
yeah, I think like even now, I don't even know what I make because my wife said, "Yeah, you're doing good, carry on," but I think they some guys have maybe live above their what they're bringing in. They live above their raising. If you can't afford to do this, don't do it. Like I could afford a new vehicle. Why? My second vehicle is an older vehicle, and because I don't work full time, but I do want to have that second vehicle. I had a nice pickup and I sold it because it was designed to pull my trailer. and I got rid of it because gas consumption compared to what I got now. I'm not pulling the trailer. I'm living in the trailer in the summertime, but I don't need to be splashy for anybody. You don't have to be big and flashy to be a truck driver. Just do your job and have your home time, but just be yourself. Be honest to yourself and your family.
So this mindset is very rare nowadays.
Yeah.
The things you talked about, not to be flashy, right? But now, because of the social media, I believe, and even though the kind of culture and marketing and all these things that exist out there, they want you to be flashy. And when people sort of fall for these, marketing tools and like sort of advertise into buying stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is when big problems happen. So, Bob, you think there's still money in trucking?
Well, any trucking I've done, like
I'm
I think-
talking about now, like
Yeah,
these
now.
days. Like, let's say a young guy in trucking right now, he or she, are they making enough to run a fine family?
it is tight because you either got to pack your lunch, so to speak. A lot of guys nowadays they fill up their fridge in the truck, and like we didn't have that option because we had no fridges. Closest thing we had back then, styrofoam cooler. So yeah, the restaurants are expensive. You got to be able to manage it, and I think you can make money, but you got to manage what you do, what money you spend on the road, because you can going through Western Canada. Every time you stop for a meal, it's $20 to $25, and back in the day it was $5, but we weren't making as much then either.
So how much? So tell me, for example, let's say you started in '70s, just around '80s. Just give me a rough idea. How much were you making per mile?
Oh, in the 80s,
Or you, if you can't say the mile, just tell me how much your end, like a monthly paycheck, looked like, just roughly.
well, I was probably making in the area of 15 to 16 cents a mile back then. When my first week, or my first job driving full time, I was making $100 a week because I had no experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I was earning my experience.
Right.
And then I went to mileage. And then when I went to the hardware company, we started on mileage. And then we got a decent increase. And I was making in the area of 16 to 19 cents a mile in the 80s, I guess.
That isn't much.
No, but things didn't cost as much then either.
Yeah. How much
Now-
was fuel back then?
Oh, God, it was under $1 a gallon. I see, I'm talking gallons.
Yeah.
Old
yeah.
school.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember down in the States, I didn't think it was that long ago, but it was in the 90s, where diesel was 75 cents a gallon. And I'm thinking, God, that's a long way. Now it's, in the area of $4 a gallon in the States, and that's probably cheap. But no, I think I don't know whether I ever grossed over 100,000 in my trucking career in a year. I was awful close to it. I was pushing it. I don't think I grossed over 100.
But you
But-
seem to be very satisfied. You said you had a great career, right?
Yeah.
But now what I see is a lot of people, they truck, like they have no family life, no nothing, just driving all the time, but still crying about their needs,
Yeah, and I get maybe living above your means, like you said before. If you want to live splashy, you got to work hard, and then you have a family, you got household commitments, you got family commitments. All that takes money, and I handle pressure pretty good, I guess, because I don't get excited about it. And like I said, the second company I was doing some part-time work for, this fall, I did two or three short trips for him. And I said, "Oh, by the way, what are you paying me?" I didn't know. I didn't ask. I just figured the drivers are all getting paid decent wage. I'll get paid the same. And it was. But I never asked till 2 or 3 weeks into it. And he said, "Yeah, I guess you should know that what you're getting paid. And if I do local for the other company, it's by the hour, I can't remember what like I said, in early 70s, I was getting $100 a week. And now for local work, it was $30 an hour. And I thought, I can remember saying to my brother when he was earning $24 an hour in the newspaper business, I said, nobody's worth that much money. But now I probably wouldn't work for $24 an hour. So everything changes. Your concept of what is good and what is bad has changed over the years in the last 54 years or whatever it's been.
Bob, have you ever been involved in an accident?
Yeah. I've had, I can't sit here and say I drove 5 million kilometers without an accident. No, I haven't. I've had the worst wreck I had was in 76. It was in Michigan. I was driving a cab over Ford, pulling an empty dump trailer, and it was in one of the darkest parts of Interstate 94 in Michigan. And some truck was on the side of the road with no lights on, and I ran in the back of them. And that square crate, that Ford was a piece of junk. They brought it home in a dump truck. The cab, they brought it home in a dump truck. And
Nobody was in the truck, right?
that I don't know because I was taken to the hospital. I had 12 stitches over my right eye, and that's all I got out of it. But I don't remember the impact. I just know the story from my boss come down and picked me up. But that's the word. I've had a few fender benders here and there, but I consider that a wreck. Because I don't know whether the back of the cab went back to the trailer on impact or whether the empty trailer bounced up, but the cab and the front of the trailer come together. But, we were short wheelbase trucks back then too. But there was, you could tell it was a Ford, and the color of it, but that was about it. It was right off.
Bob, something you witnessed on the road that you wish you never had to witness?
I've seen an accident where somebody was hanging out of the vehicle as I was driving by, and I was pretty sure they did not make it. But there was enough people there that I didn't stop because of the amount of people that were there already. But the ambulance wasn't there yet, and fire trucks. But I thought I didn't really need to see that because it would. I would think it would play with your mind, and I just thought I'm going to keep rolling and stay out of that. Keep my mind clear. But that's probably the worst I've seen as far as human injury. I've seen a lot of wrecks, but as far as human, that was something.
So, Bob, something that truck drivers struggle with a lot is their health.
Mm-hmm.
And that's due to the work condition, right? So they sit
Yeah.
for a long time, and in some cases they eat from these different places that sometimes are not very healthy, right?
Yeah.
So you seem to have done well, right?
Oh,
Not just physically, mentally as well. You did tell me that you're 70 years of age, right?
Yes, I'm 70.
So that's for 70. You've done well, right?
I tell people I'm in pretty good condition for the condition I'm in. Now, I've been heavier, I've been lighter, but I was a skinny kid till I was about 23 or 24. I don't know what happened. Just everything kicked in. I started eating, I guess, and I was up over 300 pounds at one time. But I don't eat the best. Being home more, I eat better because my sweetheart, she just makes sure I eat better. And but yeah, I've gone through that junk food, pulling the trucks up, grab a sandwich, and a pop, and away you go.
So
Gotta go.
you're actually supporting that food?
Oh, I have, yes. I sit here and lie to you. Oh no, I never eat that stuff. No, been there, done that.
Right.
And it's not the healthiest for you, but yeah, I get that mindset that I got to be there. And my mindset is, if I'm a half an hour early, I think I'm damn near late, because I'd rather wait for somebody to show up to unload me or whatever than have somebody wait for me. That's just my mindset, and I put pressure on myself. But when I get a chance to eat properly, yeah, I got no problem with that. And
And what about the mental health? Because a lot of truck drivers, I actually personally feel, that struggle with mental health. Like they become lonely and they drive for so long, and like they don't do the family time. In some cases, I know drivers that don't even have a home. You
Yeah.
just sleep in the truck, sleep in the yards, don't go no
Yep.
place,
Yep.
and then, you go to have a conversation with them and, like you can sort of tell that they're struggling inside.
Yeah. And I've seen guys like that for some reason. I'm okay. I think I'm okay that way. I don't get stressed out a lot. And my wife says, "Why doesn't some of this stuff bother you?" And I don't know. And I don't have the right answer for it because it's never bothered me a whole lot. The only thing that bothers me is if I'm late. That bothers me and I don't like to blame it on anybody else, so I go early. And I've been that way all my life, and I imagine I got it from my dad. And my dad was a truck driver, so I rode around with him and seen what he did.
Let's talk about your dad for a bit. So is he around?
No.
When did he started driving? Do you have approximate? Because trucking only started just around the World War I time, right? So
Yeah.
after and in between the two wars, right?
Yeah, he worked on a farm locally in in between Cambridge and Brantford. And after farming, he went driving taxi in Cambridge, or Galt at the time. And then he went driving truck. So he drove truck pretty much 30 to 35 years. And
At long haul?
he did some not a lot of long haul. He did run west. He run west before Highway 17 along Lake Superior was not finished. You couldn't go to Sault Ste. Marie and end up in Nipigon. There was no road.
And what years are we talking? 50s?
Late 50s, early 60s, yeah.
Right.
And then through the north, at one time you would leave. I wasn't involved in that, but you would leave Hearst, and they'd have a checkpoint between there and Nipigon, whether it was at Long Lac or Beardmore. They would have a checkpoint in the wintertime to make sure when you left here, you got, say, 3 hours to get to Nipigon or whatever it is. That makes sure you made it. And if you didn't make it, they come looking for you because, the weather, the wintertime, the winters were a lot heavier snow. But yeah, there's a road up at the bottom of Montreal River Hill on 17 is called the Trail's End. And because at the time, that's where the road ended. And then they built the road up over Montreal River Hill. And then that opened up two ways to get to Western Canada, Canada.
So the reason I said, Bob, let's talk about your dad is because, one, you are the second generation, so your father was a truck driver, and now your son is a truck driver. Because if your father, the kind of time frame I'm trying to set in my head is, if he did trucking for most of his life, he was probably some of the very first Canadian truck drivers around. So it only started in 1920s, right?
Yeah.
And then back then trucks weren't really trucks, but they were
No.
different words, right? But then in the 40s and 50s, the modern looking trucks just started to come out.
Yeah.
So he was probably the first ones to drive these trucks, right?
Yeah, he I can remember him driving a 59 or 60 white Mustang, day cab with had no sleeper on it or anything, and
It
no
was a
air
Mustang truck?
Yeah, white Mustang was a brand of truck. Yes.
Okay, well, to me, Mustang is just a car. So
Oh, yeah,
that's
I
why
know.
I had to be enlightened.
Yeah, yeah, and he drove that.
Was that American made?
I'm assuming it was.
Right, okay.
Eventually, General Motors took over white, and then evolved into the Volvo, I think. But yeah, he drove an old day cab and no air conditioning, no CB radio. Probably had an AM radio, if they were lucky. The company he worked for out of Cambridge, and that's where I worked when I helped unload whiskey. But yeah, that was thinking back on what he drove and what I've been driving in the last few years. There's just no comparison. I've always said my dad's been gone for 42 years. If he come back now, he wouldn't recognize the place because, especially the industry, it's changed completely.
Positive or negative?
Well, positive. The technology is good to a certain extent, but yeah, he wouldn't recognize it because of so many changes in what you do back then. I would assume you took your load, you went And when he did the long haul, he'd get a room, because they had no sleep
No
room.
bunk, right?
And
And how many siblings you had, Bob?
uh,
Or were any
I-
other siblings involved in trucking?
there was 11 of us in the family, 11 kids, 3 girls and 8 boys. And at one time, there was 8 of us out of the 11, 8 of us have driven for a living.
Wow, that's really a family tradition then.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there's
11 siblings and 8 of them have driven, and the father drove, and now you're saying your son drives too.
yeah, my son drives, and my brother's son.
You're a very right person to have on the show, Bob.
My brother's son, he drives too. He lives out in my brother lives in Saskatchewan, and his son lives in Manitoba, and he drives truck too. And trying to think of the other. Yeah, and the one sister drove. She drove for a courier service locally, and yeah. So when you go home and sit around the table, there's always a story to tell because there's so many truck drivers in the family.
Right. So, Bob, before we go, there's 2 things I want you to do. One, I want you to talk to the young people, that are trying to get into trucking or all just got into trucking. How should they proceed with this?
Well, I would think definitely got to do homework, get their proper training. Don't go with the we can get you in a truck for $1,000. Don't go with that. Go to the proper training, and English should be a priority in this industry because of safety and signs. It should be a priority if you want to get into trucking North America. And like I say, get the proper training, learn the proper safety procedures. Don't be afraid to ask questions because, like I said earlier, if you think it's a stupid question and don't ask it, maybe it was, but you got to ask because most guys, I've had guys come up to me and I think, well, he's asking that question because he doesn't know because I was there. I'm over 50 years into the industry, and I don't know everything. I know a lot. I have a lot of experience. I don't know everything after 50 years. I know a lot of things that come to you by trial and error and by me asking questions. I've had a lot of guys give me some input here and there, and I had my dad, and then I had older brothers. I had three older brothers that drove truck that I could talk to them about it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a decent industry to get into. Pick out your carrier. Pick out what you want to do. You want short haul, long haul. It's out there somewhere.
Right. And Bob, I want you to talk to general public that doesn't know much about trucks, and in majority of them, they have a negative image about trucks. It's like they're slow, they're big, they're causing problem for us. I just sort of want you to talk to because you've done this for 50 years, right?
Yes, there is a lot of negativity coming from the general public that has no idea what the industry does. A friend of mine said it best: "We're not driving around empty just to mess up traffic. If you go to the grocery store and your product is on the shelf, it come by truck. And when you finish with the product and put it in the trash, a truck comes and picks it up. The industry, it touches just about everything because of dry freight, perishable freight, all your meats and all that. The truck gets it to the grocery store. I mean, it goes from one part of the industry to another and ends up in the grocery store. And if it's not there, then you got something to complain about. But if your shelves are always full, the truck driver's doing his job. And we're not just out there getting in your way. And I try to do my best with the general public. There's times where I probably PO'd some of them drivers, and there's plenty of times they PO'd me. But we're out there trying to do a job, get the freight delivered on time, and if it's not on time, usually it's weather related or shipping issues, like nowadays the border crossing, especially down port here in Sarnia. That's just crazy when you gotta you got a driver waiting in line for 3 to 4 hours to get across
It's
a
busy.
border.
Correct. Yeah.
And
See, some of the problems we didn't even talk about. For example, border crossing and all that. So there's,
border crossing is
Yeah.
now, and I think the reason that bridge is so busy, Ambassador Bridge is so expensive, and the Gordie Howe Bridge is not open yet. I don't know when it's.
Well,
when-
plus, Ambassador Bridge doesn't take a hazmat.
yeah,
That's another reason for this too.
Yeah.
That's why Sarnia, Blue Water, does take
Yeah.
hazmat.
and then if you're going west, you don't want to cross at Buffalo because it's at least an hour longer driving mileage wise,
Mhm.
at least an hour, if
Mhm.
not 2, to get. Say if you're crossing Buffalo and going to Chicago, doesn't make any sense because you're adding 2 hours to your time.
Mhm.
And you're adding more tolls to your
Right.
time. So, yes, there's a lot of hiccups in the industry and that a driver goes through that there's times where
Well,
it's
we
the
need to
driver's fault.
highlight this. I mean, we need to talk about this. We need to educate people. The kind of stuff that an average truck driver goes through to make that happen. And then
Yes.
So
And it's not all gravy. Like just for instance, my son was over to Newfoundland here just recently and he got over ferry crossing, no problem. Made his delivery, got back to the boat, no problem. But 2 trucks before him from the same company, a driver lost 2 days waiting to get across because the boat's not running.
right. Because
And if you're going to Newfoundland by motor vehicle, if you're not putting it on a plane, you're putting it on a boat.
correct.
And if the boat's not running, neither are you. So then he gets over to St. John's, and now he's 2 days late. It's the weekend. He can't get unloaded. Then he drives back across the island, 900 kilometers, gets back to the boat. The wind's up again. The boat's not running. He had that particular driver had a long trip to Newfoundland, and it boat related.
And how many people know this? That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the boat's not running, neither are you.
So, Bob, I want to thank you for being on the show. So we'll catch you guys next Sunday. Thank you for watching.